Hello. Think I'm live? Good. Apologies for the lighting. Just checking, doing a bit of a test, still playing with LUTs and stuff. Anyway, thought I'd do a quick stream and just talk a little bit, just check in because I have a channel, but I had a lot to do. Ugh. Lots and lots of stuff. But we'll get there. So, the last time I streamed, I was talking about new tech, but I just, I got to the point where I actually got it to the point where I was okay. One thing about me is that if I'm hesitating over something and I'm sort of holding back, there's usually a good reason. And what I need to do is usually just sit for a while and think about why that is. What's that feeling? You got to learn to trust that little feeling, right, in your tummy. And so I got to the point where at some point, I just got talked into loving tech. I thought I could find the love again. Thought I could be the solution to all of the world's fucking problems and fix all of the problems. And then I remembered that I'm a woman in tech. And then I remembered why I left. Why I've been trying to get out of tech for 3 years. And, it wasn't just burnout. It was the fact that it's just not for me. And that was sort of the big lie, I think, that happened with the industry, which is I'm a woman in tech trying to create a tech product that's not a fucking dating app or a fucking smart dildo. Right? That's the reality, is that if you're a woman in tech, it just doesn't happen. We don't get funded, and when you do, if you assert yourself in any way, shape or form, the money cracks the shits. And I had that. That's what happened, is that basically, there were talks about me getting money. The second I asserted myself, they pulled the same move as they always do, which is they leverage money over me. And I just went, fuck off, and I'm not interested. But that actually was a good thing, because I realized that it's just not for me. And it wasn't really why I even started to stream. It wasn't why I started to do any of this, like I could have just sat pretty and kept with an agency and charged a fortune for consulting and being utterly miserable and, not have to do camera shit, not have to deal with fucking, people on the internet replying and all that sort of stuff. I could have just pursued my research and, gone about my day. And, but anyway, I just forgot why I'd quit. And then I very quickly, as I was close to launch, I was starting to think, it's like, I can't fix this tech problem. There's just some things that you can't fix from within. And I realized this in politics. When I first graduated, I've been active in politics, but only at the periphery for some time, because I realized the exact same thing about politics and social work. There's a common theme, which is that basically, you go in thinking that you can change the system from within, and then very quickly you realize that you can't change things from within. You have more power on the outside and as an outsider. And so I just realized that I was just making a terrible mistake by trying to launch new tech. Yes, I'm still continuing with my research, but I'm narrowing that stuff down. I'm obviously still studying and still pursuing like that doctoral stuff at some point in due course, very slowly. But, I think that honestly, I sat down and I did the numbers and I did the odds. And obviously, like the chances of me succeeding, if I actually spent some time investing, like finishing the book, that ever half-written book, actually spent the time preparing for streams. Didn't prepare today, haven't learned my lesson, but still. But actually, wrote scripted comedy, worked on comedy, did fucking stand up and, wrote jokes and actually invested time in writing, I'd probably have a greater chance of success than ever with tech. And I think that's the big lie that they said that has happened with tech, is that, the people that succeed, it's the same lottery. Business is the same lottery as comedy. It's just that one is more acceptable than the other. And, so I just went, fuck it. I'm just going all in. So now this YouTube channel and my Patreon are my only sources of income. because I actually decided to completely get out of tech, because I actually found that I was just, I just that dread, that feeling of dread at opening my email. And it's nothing against the actual clients. It's just the work. I'm done. I can't be part of it. I just can't be part of an industry that is complicit. Like, if you read these books about World War II and you read the books about, the people that went along with it, it was everyday people just doing their jobs and going along with stuff. And I just feel like I can't be, I have the luxury of, it's a strength and a weakness. A weakness is that I fucking end up with no career at 42. But I have the luxury of principles. I, thankfully, for the first time in my life, am supported by a man, which I don't like very much, but I need Patreon. Go to my Patreon. I need to have my own money. Don't like it at all, but I'm very uncomfortable with it because I've always earned my own money. But my husband believes in me for some fucking reason, but it's good. But I'm just going to pursue my research, continue political analysis, try a few different things, because I've been stretched so thinly, like trying to juggle all of these things, that I never do anything well. But if I actually spend the time editing and writing and researching and scripting, and I could do a couple of different podcasts on a couple of different topics and not be so scattered, and all of those sorts of things. And so someone said hello from California. Hello. And Scott said, I'm 43 and utterly done. Yeah, and honestly, and this is, I think there's a lot of people that are getting here. I think honestly, and can I just say, and I'm not saying that, my conclusion proves, I'm not making any sort of, big leaps here. I'm saying this is someone who's quite intuitive and who knows a lot of stuff. And I think that even if it's not in your conscious state, I feel like battle lines are being drawn. And I feel like there's something where good people, good journalists, honest people are smelling a rat and they just feel like they need to get out. And I honestly feel like maybe this is a sign, that maybe that's the thing that people ignored. When I've talked about the rise of fascism and totalitarianism and those sorts of things before, which is that what we do is, those nudges where we just constantly that constant dissonance. And over time, especially in tech, but politically as well, but especially in tech, it's that sort of slow boil of the frog. And eventually there's a point, I think there's a point where things are just about to boil. And again, you may not even know it, you may not realize it, but there's this, if you're a sort of a self-aware person, or you have learned to trust your instincts, even if they're not at the surface, or not even if it's not at your consciousness, that something's bad's about to fucking happen and you got to get out. And I feel like maybe that's kind of that feeling of dread that I was talking about, where I was trying to launch this product and I just went, you know what, this is futile. And I feel like it's futile, and I feel like I just need to get out of this. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying I'm the great comedian. I'm saying that I think that it's probably the only real ethical choice at this point. It's the only real way that you can tell the truth and maybe live. And I know that sounds very strange, but this is where I feel we are. And it sounds crazy. I hear myself. But also, obviously, I'm studying psychology as well. So, so I'm, going to I'm choosing my topics, and I've realized that, I'm probably a political psychologist. Everyone's shocked, I know. But I want to specialize in the role of comedy as a de-radicalization tool, right? So the role of ridicule. I talked about that in the last stream, and it really piqued my interest. And because I've had a lifelong passion for comedy, so I thought, well, why not just go all in and do something good, rather than just moaning about how shit everything is? Why don't you just sort of try to work on some small fix? And if that means that I get to say that comedy has a role in reducing fanaticism, and that's my small slice, rather than some big tech company where I got lots of money, and I won't get lots of money because no one funds you anyway. No one wants to pay for shit. There's no way to do it. And it's just like the odds are better at least if I make people laugh and I'm a dickhead and I talk shit on YouTube, I will make $4 a month. If I do a tech startup, I'll be doing it on nothing and it costs me more to run. The overhead, it actually costs more to start a new tech company than it does to just keep going with this sort of thing. And I know that sounds really silly because this ain't shit, but I'm saying I could get better. But I do want to start, and I'm going to, start a podcast only, audio only, and I'm going to call it Humans Are Great, because as you study psychology and obviously like political theory and history, I've always been drawn to the sort of goofy, crazy, fucked up, hilarious side of humans as well. And I think that maybe something where I can just, write funny stories and tells people funny stories might make people feel a bit better and like things are just a little bit less fucked. But some of the experiments in psychology are just ridiculous, and it's just a matter of framing. So it gets me good at joke writing and all that sort of stuff. So so Delame said I did well in technology, but it took up too much time. Yeah, it is. And I actually just realized I sat there and I do the maths and, like I'm keeping all these subscriptions and, the infrastructure, hosting and all the domains and just a tech stack for this thing. Like, I realized that before I even launched, the fucking website was just shitting itself without a VPS. And I was just like, why am I doing this? No one wants to pay for it. No one's going to pay. We're at the point where social networks have really, bait and switch has happened, but no one wants to pay for the cure. No one will pay to use like social media. They expect everything for free. And so, I just went and, it's just rigged. And I just went, fuck it. I may as well just do what I want to do and pursue my interests and hope that something lands and hope that things work out better. And I'll have more time to actually get stuff written down, which is the most important thing, because I say a lot of stuff, but I never find time to write or edit or storyboard or prepare or any of the things that I would actually wish that I want to do. I don't want to edit. Fucking hate editing. Editing is boring. But I'll... Anyway, speaking of which, you can clip YouTube clips now and share those if you want. So feel free to do that. But what I thought was, this is largely related to what I feel is coming, which is just every day I'm seeing this all play out the way that I think it's going to play out. And I don't know how far it's going to get. I've said this before, like I don't know how to say this in a way that will get taken seriously or heard, which is that every day we're seeing something that looks like the United States is fucking gone totalitarian on us. And because they're so dominant on the internet, I mean, it's not a surprise. People act surprised that like the internet is a weapon. It's like, well, that the Department of Defense started it. So, I mean, I'm sure it was convenient for them to figure out that suddenly if we told everyone that this was fun, we could spy on them all. I wonder, we should start a petition. Can we join China's firewall, please? Can we please? I'm starting a petition for us all to join, the world to join China's firewall and leave the United States out. Can we do that, please? No, but seriously, the Chinese have no respect for copyright. Says the person who steals fucking IP and then rebadges it and renames it and then makes $1 million writing a book about something without credit, without attribution to all the people he stole from. But the Chinese have no respect for private property. No, the Chinese don't like people stealing. They just don't. Yeah, American capitalism, fucking hell. The right, yes. They're just not a fan of rent seeking. Rent seeking is not capitalism, fuckheads. Anyway, it's not private. Marx was not opposed to private property. He was talking about the abuse of private property and landlords. Anyway, so side point. Yeah, so I'm going to try and split things up a bit, do a little bit of audio only properly scripted, actually prepare, actually be organized. I know that these things require me to be organized. That's going to be interesting to watch. But also, I've got 2 minutes. I've got my 5 minutes. And once I get over that fucking terrifying fear, I will do some open mics with that 2 to 5 minutes. I've got that now. And it's terrifying, but whatever. I'm not doing it on here because that's my 5 minutes and I don't want it to be on the internet. But we'll get there. Yeah, so why not? And I'll do some comedy writing and, obviously, uni takes a lot of time, but I think that I just need to I realize that like tech is like a bad ex. It just, like the lure of easy work, not easy work, familiar work, at a good rate, it's an in-demand thing. It was keeping me, like a bad relationship. And it's just over time, it just, and every so often they just lure you back in and then fucking it lasts a week and then it just gets shit again. And then you go, oh, that's why we broke up. And then you have to break up again and then you're apart. That fucking breakup shit. I've had that going on for the last 3 years and I think that that's what's going on. But I have to just get out and find my true love, so to speak. Yeah, and that's always been comedy and what that is. So I thought that why not pursue comedy properly? I'm clearly being very hilarious now, but comedy is a job, and it's actually something that you do professionally. So, but also research comedy as well, because I think that there's some stuff to learn there. Okay, because when you're in amongst all this horror, right? There's a book actually called "Are You We Them." And it's basically about the people who just signed off on murders. I've talked about it before in the Holocaust. It's all people who just, the desk murderers, right? Hannah Arendt has talked about that as well. It's not so much the people who do the killing, but the way that it's compartmentalized and, siloed in a way. Like actually something really interesting that I learned about Nazi Germany, which was how they did all this stuff, was that you'd have like the compartmentalization. I can never say that fucking word. But what they did was that you'd have one person, round up the person, one person, point the gun and shoot, the other person clean up, one other person do this. And by splitting that up and compartmentalizing it ritualized a task. And so psychologically, you could never quite compute the whole horror of what you're doing. And that's what I think's happened with tech. And I'm not saying that it's the same thing. I'm not doing a false, equivalency just yet. Like when I stream tomorrow and talking about this video that I saw on CNN, I find it extremely chilling. I think it may be heading in something. I think we may be heading for quite a catastrophe in the United States. Yeah, it's anyway. But I feel like tech was like that. I'm like, oh, I'm just making graphics, or I'm just doing a website, or I'm just doing this and just doing that, just consulting over here. I'm just doing my bit. And then you see the whole of that picture, the whole of the damage and all of the dead bodies that you're sort of figuratively speaking for now, complicit in, and you're presented with a choice. And I feel like maybe Scott feels the same way like that with journalism. I feel like maybe you feel that way, where you're just part of this thing and it's like the only way out of this is from the outside. And I feel like, honestly, and I know that it seems like I've gone, oh, I'm quitting and going to be a comedian. What a dickhead. But no, it's not actually. It's actually just, I think it's an act that I think that it's the last frontier. I think that it's the last frontier where that you can change hearts and minds. I think that it gives you the ability to speak more freely, as long as you're, in good faith and, not punching down, all those sorts of things, and you're doing it for the right reasons and your heart's good. That comedy affords you freedoms that are just really important right now. But as long as you're working to, because comedy obviously is truth and pain. There's no more greater threat to fanaticism and fascism and totalitarians and all of the fucking melted brains that we've got going on at the moment than telling the truth, but in a funny way and working through pain in a funny way. So as a psychologist, that's what I'll be interested in as well. And political psychology, obviously. Already being a political scientist, I just need the psychology bit. So, but yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at. Anyway, I just wanted to apologize if you were kind of expecting me to. I just kind of dropped everything, but that's what happened, was that I just realized I was faced with everything, and I just realized that I was maybe someone who was doing this slice without seeing the bigger picture of what was going on, right? And I feel like maybe that it was something that I just needed to step out of, and yeah, be on the outside of, much to my stress. I have no financial plan. I'm doing this. I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it anymore. My poor clients, but I'm in the process of trying to find people to take over my clients. And that's hard too, because WordPress has gone to shit. It's become full of scammers. I don't know what happened to my industry, but holy shitballs. Oh, God. Anyway, so but it's taking the long view. So for me, I think when you understand history, you know where this goes, and you know that when it may not go where I think it's going. It depends on how far. I mean, I think we're teetering on the edge of some pretty fucking serious shit right now. But I'm always hopeful that it's not what I think it is. I hope I'm wrong. But, the mood's set for a pretty substantial repeat of history. Let's put it that way. And at scale and with a velocity and potential for carnage that didn't exist before the internet. And I worry about that. But I think I've been saying that for quite a while now, which is that World War III won't be with bombs. It will be on every street corner with tribes, right? Radicalized tribes with melted brains. I've said this before. All they need to do. I mean, the CNN video I shared on Twitter, it's basically equating people who have any concerns about vaccines to Nazis, and the implicit using sort of NLP tactics and all this sort of persuasive subconscious stuff. Unless you understand persuasive content and how that works, it was extremely. I fucking. It's actually bugging me, right? It's actually like haunted me for the last day since I saw it. It was chilling, because what I saw was that there were messages there to turn on your neighbors. Your neighbors are trying to kill you, and this is what's happening. And it was on CNN, and it's fucking disturbing to see this outright manipulation going on. It's terrifying. It's just got chilling similarities to pre-war Germany and the rhetoric that we saw then. So anyway, we just make fun of it, I guess. No, but I'm just saying, I also want to research comedy, but it's actually part of just having integrity. It's the only thing I can do is tell the truth, and it's the only thing that allows me to tell the truth for now. And I think you're better off, I don't know. But again, you got to take the long view of things, and that's what I meant about principles. And I think that there's a certain point. There's a point where you can push against these things, but there's a turning point and a tipping point where things are just going to run their course. And I feel like maybe we're there. That maybe we're just off a cliff now, as worldwide, right? In terms of culture and, internet and politics and discourse and all of these things. And it feels like whatever goes wrong with America is going to affect us all. Always hope for the best, but, I don't know. I just know that my gut's telling me that I've got to get out of this thing, and my gut's telling me that, I don't think we're in for a fun ride. I'm seeing people double down more when they really should be calming the fuck down. And but I think it's the problem is every day it's like 50-50. You see some glimmers of hope, like workers' strikes in the US, and you see, all sorts of stuff. And then you see glimmers of class consciousness, and you see glimmers of hope. But then you just see this massive fucking open declarations of war against their own people, and you just go, okay. It's pretty terrifying. But again, I think that's largely because we've got American media, and I don't even watch much news because of that. So, and that's just what I see. But I also just see a generation of people that have just fucking melted. My friends and family, and their brains are all fucked. Like, what the fuck's going on? So I'm just gonna tell jokes about that and try to be funny. Do a couple of funny stories, but I'm going to talk about things that are fucked. But I'm also just like, so the podcast about the humans are great, whatever. I don't know what it's called yet. I haven't checked yet, but the idea is to just focus on the cool parts about being human as well, because it's the funny shit, especially in psychology, especially like the idea, like the psychology experiments, man, they're so fucked. Like what people used to get away with, like even just the history of surgery and the history of like, just political shit, just quirky stories. Let's just tell some funny stories, and, but also like moments in history where we went through these things already, and came out the other side. And that's where I was like, well, let's have the long view. But also, like I was thinking about this because of all the bullying that's been going on Twitter as well, with all these sort of people with J.K. Rowling and Helen Joyce and those people who, the trans activist bullying is just, they're psychos, man. They're just nutters. But also one thing I do know is that I've always treated the internet somewhat like it's my record, right? It's a record of my life and who I am. And that's always been where I've just, it's my story, really. And so, but I also often think, well, what if this is my last, what's the impression that people will get if I suddenly just disappeared and they went through all of these things? What would be their impression? And the body of my work is largely just being a smart ass, me telling truth and being right and getting it wrong sometimes and all of that stuff. But if, like I think about legacy stuff, and I think about principles, and I think about what the takeaway would be if I just suddenly just disappeared. And, my record is sound. I don't always get it right. Graham put me in a fucking newsletter the other day, and it wasn't a very good tweet. But again, on balance, I like to think that on balance, people will think I was an okay person, and that I made them laugh, and, I tried my best, and, all those things. But if your full-time job is bullying people, just think that that's going to maybe be your last fucking impression. Especially if we're heading into war, what if that's the record of you? I often wonder about that, and I often think about that because I've lost people and they've suddenly disappeared. And, what if it's your last record? What if it's the last thing that people see? Because I often I'll clear my timeline every day. Because sometimes I'll impulsively retweet something or share something and I'll go, oh, but what if overnight someone who I really wanted to follow me saw that? Yes, and I'll get rid of it because I go, the optics of something. And I think that thinking about optics is important. Not caring about what others think of you necessarily, but I'm also saying, think about your brand. Think about the impression that people get when they visit your, like, everything. Okay. And speaking of which, I'm going to try and do more of that for myself. So, because I haven't really done any of that stuff for myself because, I didn't really take it all that seriously. But now that I am, we'll do that. So, but anyway, so Delam is saying something really stupid and bullshit. Canada is worse than the US at the moment when it comes to authoritarian abuse. Nah. Nah. 100% nah. Anyway, the US government are fucking terrorists. And no. They're objectively not the same. Okay. Silly. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go. This was just a quick check-in. But just let people know that I'm alive and I'm fine and everything's cool. I haven't had a mental breakdown and suddenly decided to be a comedian. It makes sense. I've always had a strong, strength for writing and all that stuff. I just realized that I needed to put my energy into something more positive, but also something more powerful and more ethical. And honestly, I think comedy is literally probably the only thing that I could actually do that's worthwhile. And when I say comedy, it's probably going to be some serious essays as well, because you can take the girl out of politics, but you can't take the politics out of the girl. So I'll still be writing some essays and bits and pieces, but and I'll finish my book, which I'll try to make funny, but we'll see how we go. I'm on the road. Getting there, but I'm going to start streaming every day very soon. I just need a week to get my life together, sort of transition clients, not like that. Yeah. Anyway, I just got a mental image. You haven't seen my clients. That's a funny image. So anyway, I'm going to go. But yeah, I need a week to sort of do some cleanup. My website shit, all that stuff. But if you want to support me, do become a patron. And I do, once I get a critical mass going, I will sort of have member only streams and member only content and all that sort of stuff. It just, when you're first starting out, there's no point doing it. I'd ideally like to charge for more of my content, but there's only so much that you can do when you've only got a handful of fans anyway. But I'll be working on stuff, and I will let you know as we go. I prefer Twitter. Follow me mostly on Twitter, but if you want to do my Facebook page or newsletter, then you can. But don't use my website just yet, because I'm in the middle of doing it around other things. So I'm going to go. I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds and all that stuff. Hang on. My fucking mouse has decided to not work. So I can't leave until my mouse starts working. There we go. I don't know what's going on. I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. I'll try and come back streaming very soon, but I'm just trying to get my house in order and my workflow in order and all that stuff. But yeah, I'll be in touch. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye.